I really think there was three quarterbacks that were very much worth noting. Number one has been a guy I've been hyping up. That was Trevor Lawrence. His comeback versus the Ravens, I thought was incredible. That last drive, he was hitting freaking perfect dimes all over the place. I don't want to say much, but I'm starting to think if Trevor Lawrence was any team in the NFC would trade their current quarterback for Trevor Lawrence if they had the chance to. I thought about this one for a little bit, and the only ones that are close are Tom Brady and Kyler Murray, but I still think if given the chance, both the Cardinals and the Buccaneers move off of them and take 13 years of Trevor Lawrence.
Not Tampa. I don't think Tampa does.
All right, so the only
Tampa.
reason I think they do, if they were an 8 or 9 win team, I don't think they do it. But since their offense looks like trash right now, even with Tom Brady, I'm saying, you know what? We get 13 years of Trevor Lawrence, who's starting to look hot, compared to 3 more years of Tom Brady. Give me the young gun. At least he's got a little more gunslinger in him, anyway.
Are we talking for this season?
No. I'm talking if you got the trade offer, would you accept it? Period. So,
well,
depending on how you view things.
Here's what I would say. I'm not sure because that roster is built to win this year.
It's not doing it this year, though.
But they're also still winning that crappy division. And if you take Trevor Lawrence or Tom Brady in the playoffs, because you get a playoff game, who are you taking? There's somebody that's going to get hot and win you a championship. Is it going to be Trevor Lawrence or is it going to be Tom Brady? It's going to be Tom Brady. So I would say that they're not even worried about would I maybe do it, but I'm telling you, Tampa is not. Tampa, Jason Lick does not care. He wants to win now and do it at all costs. He knows that all he has to do is get in the playoffs because he has Tom Brady. Oh, and by the way, if they get healthy on the offensive line at all, they'll be all right. Oh, by the way, Rashad White, is he good? Is he good at football? I wonder who said that. But I would say that they wouldn't do it this year. If you're looking at it in a long-term view, it's Trevor Lawrence.
That's what I'm saying. If he was in the NFC,
okay, but I don't think that Tampa is willing to do that though. Because think about it. After this year, you go back to Tom's gone. Tom's potentially gone. Let's be clear. Tom's potentially gone. Lenny's gone. You potentially have some big signings that are going to leave on defense. Vita Vea, I think, is no. He just signed.
He's not going anywhere. They'd be dumb to let him go.
You're going to be turned into that defense is still the benchmark for that team right now. You don't Julio, Mike Evans, Godwin. One of those guys is going to be good in the next 2 or 3 years. Who's going to work with Trevor? You're kind of just starting over in 2 or 3 years.
All right. Let's rephrase this. If someone called Jacksonville from the NFC, they would have to give their quarterback plus draft compensation to get Trevor Lawrence off that team.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, he's the generational talent of the last decade. He's the best quarterback prospects is Andrew Luck. That was my impression of who's the guy? Oh, big hair, glasses. Not oh my goodness, you know who I'm talking about. The draft guy.
Oh, Mel Kiper?
Todd McShay. Mel Kiper. Not Todd McShay. Oh, he's the greatest guy of the quarterbacks since Andrew Luck. Oh my goodness, he's a first round. I would give up all my picks for the first round. So, I mean, he is. Give one game, Phil.
Hey, I have been all in on Trevor Lawrence for a while now. I think in the preseason, I put him as my number 7 or 8 quarterback. If I started a team, I would take him at 7 or 8.
Yeah, but
And my point is, after that game, I am so convinced that I was right because it's confirming what I want to be true. That I'm moving him up. He is now my number 5 or number 6 quarterback. I would take. Only
people ahead of him would be Mike White, and Mike White. Moving on to the next quarterback that you talked about, Mike White. Go on, continue with that.
Mike White.
With that thought.
Ready? Last week on this show, you weren't here, and all I said is, we didn't know. We knew Zach Wilson was benched when we recorded, and I said they better start Mike White. If they do, I am all in on the Jets to be a playoff team and get their butt kicked in the playoff because their quarterback's not good. That's another team.
I mean,
if the Jets were in the NFC with Mike White, I would love them as like a wild card, sneaky like oh, Mike White gets hot, they make a Super Bowl run. There aren't good quarterbacks in the NFC. Is my real main point.
I get it, but I'm saying Mike White. I watched 2 games. Because Mike White thrashed the Bengals last year. I remember because I took Bengals like -8 because Mike White was starting and he thrashed them. And so
he
my
did.
Point
Well. Wait a minute. I think the Bengals were up like 28-10 in that game, and then they blew it.
There was but Mike White threw him back in.
Yeah, I'm
Mike White has started like 5 games. And I think he had one like atrocious game. The rest have been like pretty good. So the way we talk about Taylor Heineke is the way we need to also talk about Mike White. Seriously, I mean, you guys, they're both comparable and can take you. Potentially to the playoffs.
I 100% agree that they are, good enough to win games, and they throw enough risky balls that like you can get positive like I can throw a 50-50 ball, and if my guy catches it, this is what Joe Flacco did and Eli Manning did on their Super Bowl runs. They just chucked it and their guy caught it and they ended up winning Super Bowls because of it. And I think both Mike White and
both of those guys
Heineke have that wild card factor to them.
Yeah, both of those guys are not guys that will win you the game though. They are, and that's fine. Those teams are built around their defenses. We just talked about that. Commanders are top 10-ish defense, maybe even better. And if you're talking about Mike White, the Jets' defense have 2 shutdown corners.
That's a top 3 defense. It is well coached and it is well manned.
So you need Mike White to do exactly what he did last week, which was distribute the ball, and you need Taylor Heineke to not turn the ball. Even Taylor Heineke can turn the ball over. You saw him do it against Philly. He chucked one up, and they still won the game because they have a really good defense. And guess what? Dude's going to come back and threw a beautiful ball to Terry McLaurin on the next drive to get him into field goal range or something like that. They got points on that drive. So I am on the Taylor Heineke, Mike White train. Can they be franchise quarterbacks? Probably not. Are you going to go into the draft potentially if Bryce Young somehow fell? He won't. But
no. Who's that Tennessee quarterback? That's the guy you risk. He's that 24-year-old guy who's looking like a solid pocket pat, like a solid.
Hendon Hooker, but he blew out his knee 2 weeks ago. So.
Well, that's a guy that falls, and you're like, I'll take a chance on him.
Oh, yeah, that's fair. Hendon Hooker, he looked really good for a long. He was going to win the Heisman probably, but or wait two drafts from now because the quarterbacks are in that draft is way better. Got the kid from USC, got the kid from North Carolina. You potentially have Texas as quarterback. You got Spencer Rattler. You got 4 top guys, and if you suck next year, Hank can go get one of those guys and replace them. They're replaceable. They don't have huge contracts. You're not going to get a bunch of flack for it. So, hey, you can hold out. Let it ride. Maybe even get to the 24 draft.
So, I heard the PFF guys talking about how good Caleb Williams is, and they said the Texans should take an edge rusher from Alabama. I can't remember his name. I don't do draft stuff right now.
Will Anderson.
Yeah, they should take Will Anderson, tank next year, and get Caleb Williams. And essentially, it's not that C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young aren't that great. Maybe I got names backwards, but those are good top end picks in a draft. It's just that Caleb Williams is supposed to be that much better next year.
Yeah, he's the only guy that would draw comparisons to Pat Mahomes. So he's more athletic. Well, I shouldn't say that. Kyler Murray's a freak athlete, but he doesn't play like Kyler. He plays more like Pat because he's like a little bit more athletic than Holmes. He's definitely a lot more athletic than Holmes, but he's not nearly Kyler's. He's not nearly Kyler's athletic ability, but he moves in the pocket and can scramble like Pat Mahomes. Kyler does things that are just like he's so incredibly quick, and he'll run read options. Caleb Williams doesn't really run read options. I watched 2 of his games this year. He just has an absolute laser of an arm, and I'm talking like Pat Mahomes, like stronger than Kyler. Like we're talking flicks the ball 60 yards down the field. He's generational. I would say if there was a guy that's going to be talked about in the same breath as Trevor Lawrence and Andrew Luck, it's going to be Caleb Williams. It's not going to be Bryce or CJ.
All right, so let's move on then to the last quarterback that made noise last week. Jordan Love came in for the Packers, and actually, it was the first time he ever looked comfortable playing quarterback. I don't know. I think we saw him was it his rookie year? We saw him come in for a few snaps, and then last year we saw him against the Chiefs, and that looked horrendous, even with Devontae Adams on the field. Well, he went against the Eagles. Eagles have a good defense, good pass rush, great corners, and he moved the ball productively. It was kind of garbage time, but he made it a 1-score game. I mean, 6 of 9 for 113 yards when Christian Watson did 60 yards of work on his own. I'm just like a catch and I'm faster than you. But he looked way more comfortable commanding the offense. So it raised the question, do you sit Aaron Rodgers, or at what point do you sit Aaron Rodgers to get a look at what you have, and then potentially, the overreaction sports talk today is, where's Aaron Rodgers getting traded to this offseason, which I think, let's hold the phone and let's see if Jordan Love can play, in the last 2 or 3 weeks of the season. But I
think there's about 200 million reasons why you wouldn't trade Aaron Rodgers that you just happen to they just came into play in August of last year. So I would say there's about 200 million reasons why you won't trade him. And I would say let's hold the horses on Jordan Love. I would say you could make the overreaction. I'll name drop for you. There's a guy by the name of Matt Flynn. You remember Matt Flynn?
6 touchdown Matt Flynn got paid a ton of money to go watch Russell Wilson.
So let's be very careful. And ironically, that was the same Green Bay Packers. So there's a good name drop for the podcast listeners that they probably need to go Google. Was Matt Flynn came in and blew up somebody for 6 touchdowns.
Lions, last game of the year.
Got a $15 to $30 million contract, something in that range. To go next year, watch Pete Carroll replace him before the season even started with a 3rd or 4th round pick named Russell Wilson. And that's it. That's all you knew. That's it. That's done. So I would say, yes, he's a 1st round pick. He's going to get a lot more attention, especially with the backlash that they got for drafting him. I liked what I saw, but, man, what did we see? We saw comfortable in the offense that he's been in now for 2 years. We saw 3 years. Yeah, even worse, 3 years. We saw a laser of an arm, and an accurate arm, and a strong arm. Great. Good. And we saw semi-athletic. He escaped the pocket. He looked more... Aaron Rodgers had good escapability, but he looked more athletic. He looked younger. And Aaron Rodgers. It's easy to do.
Yeah, 38, 39-year-old Aaron Rodgers.
But, when do you pull the plug? When do you actually see it? When you're out of the playoffs. If you're mathematically out of the playoffs, let it rip. See what he's got. Give him full games. And give him the coaching of Aaron Rodgers. Let Aaron Rodgers coach him. Don't worry about it. Aaron would somehow turn the tables against you anyway. You're replacing him next year. They'll just create a circus on the side. Make it well known that when Aaron's back, you let him go, and he's the starter. But and have LaFleur come out and say it so Aaron doesn't, poop his pants in the offseason. But see what you have after you're mathematically eliminated. But don't pull your starters. Play Aaron Jones. Play AJ Dillon. Play Christian Watson. Get some chemistry. Don't do this whole scorched earth, everyone's a backup thing. Don't do that. Give a real shot to him.
To that
Play spoiler.
Hey, we got a big week in the NFL coming